Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of TalkFlow. This is episode 30. And now in this episode, we've got a special guest. We have Žiga from Flowout. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of them. They are productized Webflow development agency. And we're just going to have a little chat with Žiga, ask him about his story. A lot of you guys really enjoy the productized Webflow service videos that we have. So this one's going to be very interesting for you guys. And we're going to dive into how Flowout got started, their pricing model, and ask the questions that the audience and the people in the Webflow industry want to hear. So Žiga, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you guys?
All good.
Very good. I think the first question that we like to ask is, how did you get started? Or actually, that's not the first question. Is what were you doing before Flowout got started? So we want to take you back right to the beginning. So were you in kind of the no-code Webflow industry previously, or how did you get started with everything?
Actually, my background is in development, so I'm actually a front-end engineer. I studied computer science, so it's basically that's my environment. The other co-founder, his name is Luca. He is a designer, and we were both freelancers back in the day, right? So we were just doing projects together, doing projects each on his own. Mm-hmm. And at some point last year, we decided to open Flowout. As you know, we both knew Webflow. We knew Webflow was a growing platform, and just went on from there. So we basically built a landing page. With that landing page, we started acquiring some clients and just grew the website, grew our service, tried different business models, just billing by the hour or by project. And at some point, after iterating the business model now and again, we decided to just keep the retainers because they stuck with us. So we just had a good traction with them. Many new customers, and now we're just selling that and growing quite rapidly, like 10 or 20% per month for the last 8 months.
Cool. Also, I think we're jumping way quickly into like this productized services thing, but so it sort of came out as a thing that you were just experimenting. It wasn't like we are gonna build a productized service out of Webflow. It's just like a retainer model, and then that got expanded into like a productized services, right?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had like an agency before. So we opened an agency in February 2020, like one month before the lockdown started. But it was like a typical agency. We just accept all the projects, we do them, develop them, outsource some, build some in-house, and so on. We tried to iterate with various productized models back then, none of which stuck until we decided to try out a Webflow productized service because it didn't exist yet, right? There were many, let's say, WordPress productized services or design productized services like Design Joy, for example.
Yeah.
And then we tried to build something in the Webflow space, and we did. So we first productized. So our first productization step was to actually just specialize in a specific niche, build out a process that's automatic, and then build out the offering based on customer feedback and our own expectations from the business. At which point we added the retainers. So we kind of didn't productize from day one as a business. We tried to find the correct niche. Webflow was something that we could do because we had good, talented engineers in-house and good designers in-house. So it was something, Webflow was a technology that was easy to adapt to everyone. And then we just scaled from there. That is kind of the process. So we didn't say, okay, this is going to be our business model and it works from day one. It was a lot of iterating, a lot of testing, searching for the product market fit here until we kind of found it.
I see. So you said February 2020. Was that when you started the agency or when you started doing productized services?
No, at that point we started the agency, which with which we kind of had a goal to build productized services. We did a couple of tests, a couple of different other services, but we didn't target either the right audience or the business model just didn't make enough sense for it to be scalable and good until Webflow, obviously. So
cool. And I think the main question, I'm still sort of wrapping my mind around productized services for Webflow. It fascinates me on how it works, but I just cannot understand like the process behind it. So I just want to like pick your brain on the process of how a client comes in and how do you sell them these packages, because I'm assuming a lot of clients are more used to the traditional model where you give them a quote, give them a timeline, and if agree on it, they sign the contract and you go from there. How do you convince them to pay a monthly retainer? Because I feel like a lot of clients won't be up for something like that if they don't know you. Or is there a specific niche that is more interested in that than the traditional agency model?
I mean, it's you got to target the right customers. That's definitely important, because retainers aren't maybe perfect for someone who is building out a new website from scratch, right? They might expect a fixed price retainer, but for larger companies, maybe some larger funded startups, especially digital companies who offer digital products, not like real estate businesses, or even those. Actually, we kind of have 2 of those, I think. The companies that have existing websites and want to change the websites, iterate on them, need some support doing that, build new landing pages, make changes, A/B tests, whatever. In those cases, right, where the tasks are all the time, so you get tasks all the time. You gotta complete those. In those cases, retainers are actually perfect. And we do get very, very positive feedback regarding the offering that we do. So basically, our ideal customer is a company that already has a website. An agency, for example, I don't know, FinSuite or whoever built their website, but they don't do maintenance. And they need someone to do the maintenance, to scale the site, to add new subpages, to feature new features, whatever it is. This is kind of the point where we take over, right? Usually, not always. So we also do projects from scratch, but I'd say it's more like 80-20 in favor of existing websites.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what it is like the I think a main thing for productized services in general, and more specifically for Webflow, is setting the parameters previously. Like before you get the client, what kind of parameters do you set? We spoke with Design Joy, and he mentions unlimited revisions, unlimited tasks or whatnot. So I'm curious to know, what are your parameters? Because, for example, you can have one client. This is the thing about productized services that's a bit confusing to me. You can have one client, right? If you have unlimited tasks, unlimited revisions, they can say, okay, I want 5 landing pages built this month or whatever. But then you have another client that just wants, a few, little features here and there. So how do you make sure that your parameters that you set are, what parameters do you set? And secondly, how do you make sure that those parameters ensure that each client, has an equal ROI, in terms of your time investment into the actual project? Because, for example, if you have a client that wants to do a ton of stuff, but then a client that wants to do a little bit of stuff, if they're paying the same price, it won't really make sense to keep the client that wants to do a lot of stuff, because it's not as high of a ROI compared to the other one. So yeah, what kind of parameters do you set, and how do you make sure that you're still profitable during those parameters?
So our business is a bit different than Brad's. So Design Joy basically is a one-man band, right?
Yeah.
Which means he has to handle all the requests himself, right?
Yeah.
And I respect that. I mean, it's he must be a machine to be able to do it.
Absolute machine, yeah.
Yeah.
But what we do, so we decided to build a business that is actually scalable. So a business that one day in the future we might sell. Like, it's hard to sell your personal brand, right?
Yeah.
As in, exiting it. You can sell it and monetize it, but you can't really exit it. You can say, hey, I'm not Brad anymore, you are me, right? It doesn't work this way, right?
Yeah. It does make sense, yeah.
So we kind of went from a different perspective and said, okay, we got to build this business and try to remove ourselves from operations as soon as possible. So our team right now, if you include us too, consists of 15 people. So there are 15 developers and designers. 13 actually, plus me and Luca, and project managers and so on, who do the projects. So we can handle a larger workload without any, without compromising quality too much.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would be possible for like just me and Luca, for example, to do everything. I mean, we would just work 24 hours per day and burn out every second week. So this is kind of the difference between us. But also, we don't have any real limitations regarding, I don't know, number of requests and so on. It's the typical unlimited model that's been around for a couple of years, and it's gaining traction now thanks to all these services popping up everywhere. But yeah, our kind of only limitation is that we do one task at a time. So you can put in like 10 requests in the queue, but we will just fulfill one by one. And it takes us 1 to 3 business days to get started. So those are the two main limitations. Everything else is, just typical. Our average client uses up around 70 hours per month.
Okay.
Plus minus a couple, let's say. This is how much time each is getting. But this is totally the median. It's not a rule. Some clients, for example, for 2 months, they don't give us one task, but we still build them, right? And I mean, like legit, not even one. They don't send one message, nothing. But then others, for example, want a website built and they take up 120 hours per month, maybe even.
Right.
But
and
the
it
average
sort of
comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it all sort of evens
our
out.
responsibility. Exactly. Yeah, it's not our responsibility to tell them to give us tasks. It's their responsibility, right, to use us as much as they want.
Yeah.
If they don't want to, or they don't have work for us, that's perfectly fine. I mean, they can cancel the retainer or just freeze it for a month or something, or not. We try to ping them. So if someone doesn't give us a request for like a week or two, we say, hey, will there be any work in the future, so we can plan stuff. But generally an average, it's around 70 hours per month.
Cool.
Yeah,
And
because I think the main problem with Design Joy was, I mean, the whole reason why we made that video was, one client had a backlash on him on Twitter. And reason being is because he was out for 2 days because of COVID, I think, or he was ill. So it's great that the reason why is because he was a one-man band. So because you have a team, even if you're sick or you have to miss a couple of days, you're going on vacation, you still have 15 other people to handle the workflow for you. So in that sense, it is a lot better. But again, you're not keeping all the profit, which is, I think that's like a given when you're trying to scale. You can't have all 100% of the earnings. But yeah, I think I'm curious to know, because whenever I see this kind of, as I said, I think it's like you have to have your processes in check, like 100%. So I'm guessing that you had to do that, right? So I want to ask you, what was your journey? Because in the beginning, I'm guessing that you had to learn along the way. You had to tweak up your processes a bit. So how has your process in terms of managing your clients and your productized services, how has it changed from when you started to now? And is it as complex as it sounds or as it seems?
So yeah, I mean, we at first there was no process, honestly. So we just did what made sense. We communicated via Slack. We didn't have any other software. The team was smaller back then. There was just us two, one designer and another developer. So that was it. But then as we went on, we kind of iterated on the process. So we really went in this totally lean, agile. We aren't the smartest guys in the room. We gotta test stuff to know if it works or not. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. If it doesn't, you just replace it with a different process, right? And at some point, we decided to implement a dashboard for our clients to automate that. Then we hired a PM. Now we're standardizing some communication processes. So this is something that I think is always work in progress. The work process is never complete. It's never 100% finished. There's always iterations, changes based on client feedback, based on your, developers' feedback and designers' feedback, product managers' feedback, and so on. So it's something that we try to change as we move along, but not too much anymore. I think what we got now works pretty well. We got a 5.0 rating on Clutch. Customers are really satisfied. Our churn rate is extremely small. I don't think we're going to change stuff a lot at all.
Yeah, I think this process brings up a question that I think we should ask everyone that comes on the show. But if you have to put on like 3 to 5 tools that you use daily in the agency, what are the tools that you actually use to get this whole thing going? Besides Webflow, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, we do use some other third-party software when necessary, like Airtable, Google Sheets, MemberStack, Firebase, and many of these no-code tools.
No, I mean like for your process, so, like internal process, like internal tools.
These are project tools, right? So just different technology stacks, basically, right? Internally, we use Slack, Mail, and we have a dashboard built on a software as a service solution called Menu Requests by Robin. He's also the admin of Productised community, so we use his solution for the past, like 3-4 months.
Right.
And I think
So
we're
this
also
is
one of his biggest customers. So I think like a big percentage of the transactions go definitely through our
so is that
dashboard.
like a place where clients log in to put in work in the queue, or
That's right. Yeah.
all right, so then you or the developer can log in and see what's in there.
Yeah, so our project manager then assigns these tasks to our developers, designers, communicates in the comments and so on. Yeah, but we also very often have Slack channels open with our clients, so we communicate a lot via Slack, especially like support. That's more supportive. To like say, let's say, hey, I have a quick question. You can just ask us here if it's not a task, because not every question is actually a task, right?
Yeah, because I don't think not a lot of people really know about many requests because it's not a tool that I think any of the agency owners that we talk to use. But it's good because I think if you're offering maintenance or if you're looking to offer maintenance, having a way to just put all the queues in one place and then assigning developers, because I didn't even think that we have to do something like that, but it makes sense just to keep things more streamlined. I think another tangent question is, we spoke about Design Joy and how one client was the whole reason why we had an interview with him. Have you had any bad client experience? Like something just went completely off. You don't have to name them, but have you had any experience like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think there is one person in the services business that gets along with every single person, every single client that you get. But it's like dating. Maybe you will be a good fit with like 5 dates, but with the 6th one, it's gonna be terrible, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing here. I think it doesn't always work out, but it's not necessarily anyone's fault. It's just incompatibility usually.
And
but
was
yeah,
it because
we had many of those stories. Yeah.
Could you?
I mean, not with Flowout maybe, but also in the past as an agency, you see these stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to see it. Yeah.
And was there always like something? Because I think every bad client teaches you something, like something that probably you missed out in a process or something that you forget to ask or miss out during the screening process. Was there anything that a client, like I wouldn't say a bad client, but a client really taught you to like, okay, we have to look out for this? I want to say red flag, but I don't know whether that's the right term, but like, was there any during the Flowout journey, is there any couple of things that you caught because of past client experience? Like something
definitely. I mean, we definitely noticed a couple of perhaps general business niches that aren't the best fit for our team. And I'm just talking really about incompatibility. So I wouldn't call any client a bad client, right? So we might have not been a good fit, but I'm sure they're going to fit well with a different agency. Except clients that changed like 10 agencies and then you're the 11th. That's usually on them. But then again, it's hard to say. You just see some specific features, maybe in communication also. Like if someone has an email address like CEO@company.com, right? So, or executive director and so on. Those kind of people aren't maybe the best fit for us because we are a bit more startup-y, more lean. Not in this world, for example, that they are. And we kind of found our niches, which are mostly SaaS companies and some agencies. You gotta get along with people. I think you gotta get along with people. You gotta be able to talk with them like on a more friendly basis, not just exclusively super professional, and all that. Especially if it's a retainer, because a retainer is a relationship that's ongoing. It's not something that we are here for 1 month and then you're never gonna see us again, right? If someone subscribes to a retainer, it's usually for I'd say at least 6 months, right? And if you're gonna live with someone for 6 months, that person better be a good fit, right? On both sides. So they gotta be a good fit for us, and we gotta be a good fit for them. But yeah, some people are just. It also happens that sometimes some people are just generally mean. Maybe their communication isn't friendly, isn't kind, and it's such people. We also don't want our employees to be subject to bad communication, right? And let's say bad words and bad sentences from clients, which is also a big part here. I think respect, respect is the most important part, definitely.
I just want to ask, were there any requests that clients sent that literally cannot be done in Webflow? Like, for example, can you create something something crazy, and then you say, "Oh no, that's outside of Webflow's, limitations." Has it ever
There's
happened?
there's one request that was until recently impossible to do, and it was at almost every project, which was to change image formats from PNG and JPEG to WebP
Oh,
format, right?
okay.
And
Yeah,
until
yeah.
recently, everyone wanted that, but it was literally impossible to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's a perfect example.
Yeah, right. I see. Yeah. I want to also ask, because you've been in both kind of industries, where, work in the you've worked in the traditional agency route where you do a fixed price for a project, but then you also done productized services, which is, kind of new and up and coming. What do you think are the benefits and of fixed pricing at the traditional method and productized services, and what are like the downsides of it? What made you switch like from doing the fixed pricing model to the productized pricing model? What made you switch? Because I'm guessing that you must have found some downsides to the fixed pricing model, right? Or
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think we're ever going to go back to the fixed pricing model because I don't see any benefits at all, except if you're maybe a scammer and you like to rip people off by giving out prices times 5, right? So it makes sense to have a good margin, but generally it is just smarter to have a retainer, honestly, and to define what you do, how much it costs, and that's it. Because the margins are always almost the same. It's easier to measure profitability. The cash flow is more consistent. So at least
cash flow,
you have this minimum threshold of money that you're gonna get every month, basically, or at least if you're not, you're gonna know soon enough that you're not. With projects, 1 month you can make 100K, and the next month you make like 5,000. That's it, right?
You're right. Yeah.
So it's not as friendly. It's harder to scale.
That is one problem that both me and Vim are suffering from, cash flow, and I think it's like a lot of people when they start scaling a little bit, they see that problem. And I'm guessing, is that what happened to you in Flowout? You had that fixed price model, then you were kind of in our position, like, oh shit, I'm not getting no cash flow. Let me do productized services. Is that kind of how you made that switch?
I mean, we did kind of. It was, I think, the main reason why we switched to retainers initially. Even if they wouldn't sell, at least we knew they make sense for us business-wise. But apparently, people like retainers, so it was all good. But yeah, cash flow was an issue. Luckily, our company had a lot of capital, so we invested a lot of money when we opened the business, so we could pay salaries normally. But yeah, there was a month, when you had like negative cash flow, and the next month was very positive, and then again negative, and so on. So it was half the year you were actually making a loss, and half the year you were making a profit. So as long as you count those two together and still a profit, it's good. But at some point you gotta invest your own cash just to make some more potentially, maybe, and then I don't know. Maybe the client isn't satisfied and they say we won't pay, and then you have all those potential fees that come with that. It's just a pain, and we're not looking back at the old business model at all. Like not even a bit.
Right. And you mentioned that clients like retainers. So what do you think? Do you think there's more of a demand with retainers and your kind of current pricing model now compared to the fixed pricing model?
I wouldn't say there's a bigger demand percentage-wise. So the relative demand is not bigger, I'd say. Most people still prefer. So most clients still prefer something that's fixed price and, has an accurate estimate and so on. But the clients that we want to work with, they prefer a retainer, right?
Yeah, because I think having, like, as you said, like you don't start a Webflow project from scratch and you sort of maintain what like another agency has built, or you're adding landing pages. Those, I think, it's very, like, I feel like it's very easy to convince or sell it to a client because there is very, very good value that you're sort of adding every month. Where I think I was confused was that I felt like a lot of these productized services meant like starting from scratch. And I cannot like imagine how would you productize Webflow development from scratch as a productized services, because I feel like a client would want to know when they can actually go live. And if you can quote them a month, like let's say 2 weeks or 2 months, and they can just times your whatever rate you're charging per month and pay you up as a fixed pricing, like I cannot convince, or I cannot feel like anyone could convince a client to keep paying them every month, even though the project would easily end in like 2 months. But something like a maintenance plan, or having this, I wouldn't even call it maintenance. It's more like upkeeping and upgrading the website, adding more pages, CMSs, and that fits really well with this productized service. But now I'm having another question is, how do you find the talent for this? How do you find developers how do you hire is basically like what I'm asking.
So yeah, it's hard. I think that's the hardest part, honestly. Luckily, in Slovenia, we have very good schools for computer science. We have 2 big universities, that rank up there in Europe. So luckily, there is a lot of talent, as in a big number of people that work in IT that are developers. But that number gets a lot smaller once they get to the job market. Right, because there are many businesses, I don't know, blockchain companies or whatever, that pay these people 100K per year or 150, 200K per year right after university, which I think is amazing and good and perfect, but we can't afford that realistically. So we kind of have to, try to offer them some other benefits than just salary. Our salaries are, by the way, super great for Slovenia. I mean, the salaries here aren't bad, but we pay like twice or triple the average salary national here. So it's really good. People are still living good lives, but it's hard, also to convince engineers to work in Webflow instead of some hardcore technology stack. They're not gonna build some AI products in Webflow here, which they might with some startup that can poach them for twice the salary, right? But you just gotta, you gotta be persistent. You gotta try to convince people. You gotta reach out to new developers. But it is the hardest part of our job, I think, right now. It's harder to find new developers than it is to find new clients.
And
I think that the more we scale, we kind of find that to be true, isn't it, Vim? Like, it's very hard to find for developers.
And I think this is the first time I'm hearing you don't hire specifically for Webflow developers. You're looking for more front-end engineers or front-end developers that then you can then train them on Webflow. Is that right?
That's right. So our forte is actually custom code in Webflow. So all our developers are actually front-end engineers. They all know how to write, JavaScript, integrate APIs, and so on. Because a lot of our tasks requires that. Because we aren't, the agency that builds the website usually just builds it out, adds the content, illustrations, designs, and so on. But then they want, I don't know, to integrate Hubspot via API, for example, right? And we gotta set up a proxy server, and we gotta set up the scripts, integrate all that. So it's a bit different what we do than what most Webflow agencies do. So we are very often we are the code part of no code, right? We try to add the code where necessary.
Like a more technical agency for Webflow is, I think, a better option.
That's kind of missing in the market also. Most people are designers that build in Figma and Webflow. But we do it a bit differently, so it's technically good as well. Some people just want to optimize the website to be fast or for SEO and all those reasons.
And sometimes like they might have like the HubSpot integration is a classic thing. You cannot, because we do have a client, and without a JavaScript developer you cannot do it. You have to use Zapier or other platforms, which again is an extra tool that they need to pay for and maintain and all of that. So I think it's definitely, as more clients come in and more larger companies start using Webflow, like technical Webflow support is going to like be the most important thing, because it's very easy to set it up, but having someone who knows what they're doing just to maintain it and troubleshoot if things go south, I think again it's a niche where not a lot of people are focusing on. And I think you probably caught it like way before even like the first wave sort of comes in.
Hopefully. I mean, it is something that is apparently needed on the market, because everyone that hires us wants things like that to be done. But we will see how that moves on. If more engineers also start to do Webflow stuff, or if they just stay in whatever they're doing now.
I think a front-end engineer, I like how you kind of approach your hiring method. A front-end engineer that knows Webflow is a lot better than just a Webflow developer, because you can do so much stuff right with JavaScript, HTML, CSS. I think, Ving, you actually brought on a JavaScript developer quite recently, so I'm sure you know firsthand how, game changing that is. So yeah, I think I might be stealing that tactic for my next hire, but
maybe we gotta launch a productized service, just for custom code in Webflow.
I think that might actually bang. You never know.
Actually,
but yeah, that is
yeah.
kind of what you're doing, to be honest, Jiga. So
Yeah, because I
Could be
think
interesting, right?
because
Yeah.
if not just clients, but if other agencies need like a technical support and hiring a JavaScript developer full time or just having someone freelance isn't something a lot of Webflow agencies are looking to do because it is beyond their forte, I feel. And I think having an agency that just does technical solution would be much easier to refer to than just trying to find a JavaScript developer for clients. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's something to think about and probably another product that you can offer at Flowout.
Yeah, maybe we will. I mean, we are thinking about expanding the offering or not.
Yeah.
We kind of like it how simple it is right now. Honestly, this is kind of what we were aiming for, because even explaining retainers sometimes on sales calls is very complicated because people don't always get it. It's still the business model, while it is kind of viral in the last maybe year or two, it is still new. People are not used to paying their development agencies, a fixed retainer. It's still a new concept, and we will see how that goes. But our customers are mostly from IT, from tech, and they are, I think, more used to it than some classic businesses. But a small business from, I don't know, from the US, that knows nothing about web development and so on, that maybe isn't digital first, they don't need our service at all. So I think they need someone for $300-$400, and that's it. But for someone that offers a digital product, like SendLane, for example, or Jasper AI, we work with, companies like that need constant work done because their only funnel, their only acquisition channels are online. And is their website, right? So it's really important for them to have everything as it should be. And those businesses, I think, will be looking more and more for services like this.
Yeah, and I think that sort of answers. I wanted to ask what is your growth plan, and where do you sort of see Flowout growing the next year or so? Do you want to add more to that, or is that sort of the answer?
Yes, I mean, our totally, as far as numbers are concerned, our plan is to grow to at least 80K MRR until the end of this year. We're at 50 right now. Plus we make around, let's say, 20 to 30K in additional hourly packages, which we offer. So we want to get to, let's say, 100K revenue, of which 80K should be MRR until the end of this year. This is our ideal plan. But in parallel, so Luca and I, we kind of removed ourselves from the operational process. We hired a product manager, a very senior one, who's doing a great job right now. And we're focusing on building products. So what we are doing now, we have a dedicated team. So we have 3 full-time engineers who work exclusively on our in-house products. Currently, they're working on Linguana, which is a multi-language extension for Webflow.
I saw that.
Yeah, so this is the thing we're building now and launching in Q4. But there are also a couple of other mini tools, extensions for Webflow, that we're trying to build and launch them. Some are free, some aren't. Sometimes you can't offer something for free just because it costs you all the money to just run it. But yeah, we're trying to scale the business, not just in the services space, but also to products.
Yeah, and I think that Linguana, I saw that on Twitter, and I was actually was it Twitter or LinkedIn? But I was just so happy that finally there's a competition to Weglot when clients ask for translations, and we have no other option than Weglot. There are other options, but I think Weglot integrates really well with Webflow. But the pricing is just it's just not something that I can. I think large clients are okay with it, but even then, I had like a $1 million, $20 million funded startup sort of a bit unhappy with how expensive it is just to have 5 languages, where on WordPress or some other platform is so much easier, and sometimes it's just built on top of the platform itself. But finally, I was just so happy to see another competition in the multilingual space. If Webflow doesn't, and I don't know why Webflow doesn't support it, maybe it's more technical than they are willing to get into. But yeah, can tell a little bit more about that. Like, where did that idea sort of start, and is it going to be paid? I'm assuming it's going to be paid, but any nuggets you can throw at us about that?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be it's not going to be a free solution. And it's a bit different than Weglot also in concept. So with Weglot, you're kind of obliged to pay for AI translations, which you might not even use, right? And the plans are extremely expensive. Like if you want a package that enables you to translate URL slugs, it costs at least I think $200 per month. And if you don't translate them, you don't even you don't even get indexed on Google for other languages, right? So it doesn't make sense at all. We kind of decided to just simplify the pricing, just add a free package, which is very basic, add an individual package, which is just for like a one project account, which is $50, $49 per month. And then add a business plan, which is basically for unlimited projects, which is kind of more for agencies. Which is $99 per month. And until we launch, we also have like a lifetime plan until launch day, right? Which is $599 forever, and it doesn't have to be doesn't have to be any other payments, and that's it. And we're trying to, our key here is to make the tool not just user friendly, but also very SEO focused. So we're focusing 100% of our efforts on SEO. AI translations, we're just going to use Google Cloud translations if someone wants to. And it will be just pay as you go. So 1,000 words will be 1,000 credits, which is $1, and that's it. So you will just buy the amount of credits that you need. But generally, we are focusing on SEO. We have a couple of features that even Weglot doesn't have, like subdirectories for languages, right? So you don't have to have
you don't have to have a subdomain. It can be a subdirectory. So domain.com/language /URL slug. Translated slugs, we have actually a couple of SEO experts that we found, and they are helping us out pro bono, luckily. And also the expert that we have that does our own SEO for our website. He is a freelancer, and so we are just trying to make a tool that's gonna be good. It's Webflow only, so it's really specialized. It's very focused. Nice.
And the traction has been really good. So I think we have like a couple of. We actually had quite many lifetime purchases already. The $99 reservation fee was paid, and we also have like dozens. I think it's almost 100 people now on the wait list without $8 spent for advertising.
Because like I was again going back to the point where there was no competition to it, and then I think you guys just captured what everyone was secretly just annoyed with Weglot, and just put it out there and sort of solve a problem that a lot of people have. It's not that Weglot is bad. It's just that I think their pricing is just, they need to work on it a little bit more. And it's not Webflow focused, like that they support other tools as well. And I think just having one translation tool just for Webflow makes it so much easier to sell. And I might I don't know whether I signed up for the waiting list, but I'm going to do it right now after this call. But I think, do you have any other questions, Shais?
No, I think that's a good way to kind of end it off. I think I'm excited for that tool to come out. Is there any more tools, Žiga, that you want to talk about? Perhaps
tell all the secrets.
Spilling the secrets about.
I mean, there's one more that's coming out really soon.
Ooh, okay.
I think even before fall, it's going to be an image optimizer.
Nice.
A bit more focused than what Webflow does, and also a WebP converter. It's going to be a free tool, so that's not going to be.
Is it going to be like an extension, or is it like a site that you?
It's going to be a site, probably a subdomain of Flowout. It's not going to have any specific branding and so on. We're going to launch it in Product Hunt, just to. It's something that we need internally, and we decided to just build it not just for us, but also for everyone else.
I hate when I try to convert or compress and it says, only 5 free images allowed, and then you have to pay. So I'm going to be using that for sure.
I mean, even Webflow solution is, it works. It's not ideal, right? Because
but it's only for WebP, isn't it?
Yeah, and it actually doesn't compress the WebP images as much as it should. So they are still quite big for WebP. And also it converts all the images. Even if you somewhere use SVGs, it will still convert them to WebPs, which is a deal breaker for us because we use SVGs whenever we can, and they shouldn't be WebPs and those cases. So we're just building this, for ourselves. And if we're going to build it, why not just add some user authentication to it and just release it to the public? And maybe someone can use it. Maybe someone won't want to. Doesn't matter. It's a good deed. That's all that matters here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching this episode. Žiga, thank you very much for coming on. We, really enjoyed the conversation with you guys. If you guys want to check out anything related to Flowout, all of their social links and website will be in the description, so make sure to check them out. And if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like, make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure that you press the bell notification button so you do not miss out on future uploads. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.